Hello fellow life skillers and other beginners, I suppose, interested in getting into some gathering, and welcome to my first attempt at actually making a life skill related video for a change. So no more grinding. Most people who know and watch this channel already know by now that I get most of my income from grinding, maybe 90%, or in the past year almost all of it, with the exception of the events, and I figured maybe it's about time to start exploring some of the life skills. I didn't really touch life skilling at all since the manos stuff was released, so I have quite a lot to learn, and I figured what a better place to start than with the basic gathering. This video is going to be mostly just my experience with a couple of different sessions tested with different materials like blood, meat, rough stones, timber, sap, just the most let's say popular locations for gathering. I'm gonna show you a basic money per hour chart with what you might expect. Let's say if you have some entry level manos stuff, I guess. I personally don't have any manos life skilling accessories and all of the gear required for that, so what I'm referring to in general is just the mastery level, so I don't have a lot of that. What I used was the free event gear that we currently have ongoing. So with this free gear and the seafood cron meal, I was able to get 855 mastery in total. That's what I used for the entire duration of this video. Please do keep that in mind. 855 mastery, that's what I have, and the results for today are going to kind of reflect that level of mastery. For me, this is supposed to be an entry level basic test that I want to have as a baseline and compare today's results to what I might get 6 months from now when I will have the proper manos gear, and I want to see how much I improved, if I'm making a lot more money per hour, or if 6 months from now I'm going to be expecting almost the same income as I'm getting today. Again, 855 mastery, don't forget that. I am not a life skiller, so I don't know the most optimal ways to gather in terms of the rotations from, I'm pretty sure there are proper known rotations or how to rotate packs and all of that. I saw some YouTube videos where people are using the mouse movement to gather multiple monsters without having to actually physically move the character. I wasn't using that. I personally was moving my ranger from sheep to basically butcher them. So again, it's probably not the most optimal thing ever, but it is what it is. For a beginner, it might give you some insight into what gathering looks like. So that being said, yeah, let's discuss today's topics. I'm gonna also, I forgot to point out, if you yourself are a life skiller and have experience with all of this and want to share some advice and all of that, if it's constructive feedback, feel free to put it in the comments. Other people will definitely benefit from that. I personally myself might learn some new things. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe there are some places I should be going to. Just any advice you have, feel free to put it in the comments. So yeah, let's start with the meat, the most basic, I suppose, type of gathering. I personally started with wolf meat because I was looking on some YouTube videos with popular locations to gather, and I didn't exactly know that wolf meat is something that people actually actively gather. So I'm gonna show some basic clip in the background with me gathering, attempting to, and also the location on the map where I was gathering. It's probably not the only place that has wolves, probably not the best one, but that's what I used. The idea for me was simply to go from full energy to 0 in one single gathering session without any interruptions, so no going AFK or stuff like that, and see exactly how much time I'm spending to get from full energy to 0. In my case, I have 319 total energy. I had a Massive Blessing active, so that was constantly recovering my energy 3 by 3. So in total, I kind of spent more than 319 energy, but you can do the math yourself if you want on that. And besides the Massive Blessing and the energy, I have Artisan 10 gathering from way back in the days when I used to gathering, maybe 2 years ago. So again, that's the baseline. At Wolves, I did one gathering session, and in 35 minutes I went from full to zero in terms of energy usage, and I did make an Excel file for every single area I'm going to be discussing about today, in which I basically placed just the most important items that are worth selling to the marketplace. So I personally am not doing any cooking or alchemy, so I won't be processing any of the materials I get. I know you can make more money if you cook them or you process them in some form of way, but in my case the profit is represented by me selling the items to the marketplace, all of them, or to the NPC if it's something that's sold to the NPC, like the fairy powder. I didn't exactly value everything, so items that are in very small numbers or trade items, just irrelevant junk items, I just simply bundled all of those together into this other junk stuff, and I valued all of them at 1 million for every single area. It's not the most accurate thing ever, but it's an approximation of, you know, what might be the income with 855 mastery. So from 35 minutes I got about 54 millions. So if I was to have enough energy, let's say, to stay here for 60 minutes or 1 full hour, I should be expecting about 93 millions from one gathering session at wolf meat. I mean, for wolf meat. So that's, I will say it's the best one I got so far from all of the other types of gathering, but it's not that huge of a difference. So it's not that big, and it's probably just down to fluctuations because it's just one single session. After wolf meat, I moved into the good old sheep meat on the goat mountain because I already knew about this one, and I wanted to see exactly how much different this is compared to wolf meat. The price for sheep meat is actually a little bit higher, at least currently, and on the Europe server compared to the wolf meat. In total, I heard that here sheep meat is supposed to have lower drop rate compared to wolf meat, but in my case it was kind of about the same. I forgot to point out that wolf meat was about 5.7 thousand of them per hour if I was to stay there 1 hour, and here at sheep meat I got about 5.6 thousand meat per hour, so it wasn't that huge of a difference. The energy does get used a little bit faster here, so 28 minutes until I ran out of energy, about 40 millions income from selling all of those things to the marketplace and the NPCs, and 85 millions if I was to stay here 1 hour. I know I heard that, you know, proper life scalers use energy potions to stay and grind, I mean gather for longer, but I didn't use those. After that we have some deer meat around the bear area. Again, I will show it in the background, the map. This is the third and last type of meat I tried to gather, and again it's about the same 5.6 thousand meat per hour in terms of speed of gathering. So compared to the other types of meat, it doesn't seem to be any faster or slower. The meat itself is 9.2 thousand each, so a little bit cheaper than the other ones. I got 55 millions from this session, 37 minutes spent in total, 90 millions per hour if I could gather for 1 hour, which I don't know if it's actually doable, but you know, you know, whether you gather or you grind for 30 minutes, it's still basically the same 90 millions per hour, but you don't exactly spend 1 hour there. You know what I mean. In any case, there is also sharps, hards, dust, and Kafra stones, which will influence this value of money per hour, but take it just as an approximation. What I noticed from gathering for meat is that I get quite a lot of black gem fragments, so that seems to make quite a bit of the income compared to the next type of gathering, which is for rough stones. Rough stones on the desert around the sanctuary, I forget the exact name, I guess I think it's Pilgrim's Sanctuary maybe. I think that's the only place worth going to if you want to gather for stones, in particular for rough stones, because I think that's the only material actually worth gathering for, because the other ones you can easily get from workers. I know rough stones can definitely be used in a lot of different ways, and they are definitely worth more than their marketplace price, but for the sake of consistency and trying to sell everything to the marketplace for profit, I did just simply value them as if I would be selling everything to the marketplace. I placed in the Excel file all of the types of ores and the rough stones. I skipped the little bit of melted stuff and these gems, the trade items. Those all went into that 1 million junk item section, and in total I made 44 millions in 33 minutes. So it took me about 33 minutes to burn all of my energy gathering for rough stones. I should point out that this is the first place where I actually had to start using my maids to move some of the stones into the bank, because I was starting to get overweight compared to meat, where that's not an issue. I kind of forgot to bring with me a horse or a camel to overstack some of the ores on the camel, so maybe you can avoid using maids if you bring a horse with you. Besides stones, after stones I started to move into the timber and let's say other types of gathering. For timber, I believe there are 2 sessions, but they are not in order for whatever reason. The first one is around bear, once again, where I went for that deer meat. This time I tried to go for actual wood for timber, and I got cedar timber, fir timber, pine timber, and logs. I was just really mostly interested in the logs because those are quite nicely priced, and again they are most likely more valuable than their marketplace price. Here I spent 41 minutes in total until I ran out of energy. Once again, timber is pretty heavy, so again I had to use my maids to actually manage the weight limit, which is a little bit annoying. I personally don't think I will go back to gathering wood in particular, because I find it annoying and the profit didn't seem to be exactly justified, especially since I'm personally not using the logs for anything. I made 53 millions on those 41 minutes, approximately, let's say 78 millions per hour income. Again, I don't think you can actually stay there 60 minutes without having to use energy potions, but still. Next up, I tried some sheep blood. I wish I would have placed these in order in my Excel file, but they are not. Moving from timber into sheep blood, this one I tried because basically it was different, and I knew that I checked the marketplace and the sheep blood has a pretty decent price, so that was the only reason. In terms of drop rate, or I guess it's drop rate, it's still about 5.6 thousand blood per hour, so it's exactly the same as the meat. So whether you're gathering for sheep blood or sheep meat, it doesn't seem to matter that much. It's just the price. You just have to check the marketplace and see whichever one is worth more selling at that time. In this case, 30 minutes spent, so a little bit more than the than the meat. I believe sheep meat was at 28 minutes, but just fluctuations. I made about 43 millions, so that's supposedly about 87 per hour. So it's not bad, especially compared to grinding, where I typically would have to use a loot scroll to get more than this in terms of income. Without a loot scroll, I don't think you can expect most of the grinding areas in the game to offer you more than 90 millions per hour if you have, say, entry-level grinding gear. After this, I moved again back into bear to try sap, to gather for sap instead of for timber, because sap isn't that heavy and also it seemed to be better priced on the marketplace. Gathering for sap, the first thing I noticed is that I'm getting way more dust than I did with the other methods. I stopped getting the gem fragments, and instead I'm getting dust to make Khafra stones, so that was pretty nice. I spent 39 minutes in total. I made 42 millions selling the stuff to the marketplace, and that's around 65 millions per hour estimation. This value will probably fluctuate a lot, just simply because just the RNG drop rates for sharps and for hards and Khafra stones, those probably make the biggest difference between the different types of gathering. After that, I moved back into Hydeal to try to gather some maple sap or maple sap, however you pronounce that one, because I heard that area is once again another popular location for gathering. From what I heard, the maple trees are supposed to be placed next to the road, around the roads close to Hydeal and the glitch area there. It's easier, just look on the screen and you will understand what I'm talking about. I found it kind of hard to gather in this particular area for just maple sap, because those trees didn't seem to be enough. They are just those tiny trees. I don't know how to describe them, but basically I got about a third of the sap, the total sap. It was maple sap, then I got also pine sap and cedar, so it was 3 different types of them in the end, even though I kind of wanted to aim only for the maple one. And once again, 42 minutes spent until I ran out of energy. I made about 47 millions from this session and an estimation of around 67 millions per hour. So it definitely seems to be lower than meat, and also less convenient in general, unless you need the sap for something in particular. And if you do, then you don't need this video, because you probably know a lot more about life scaling than I do. And the last area I tried, the 9th one for today, is back at bear once again, going to those deers, and I tried to go for deer blood instead of meat. Again, the drop rate seems to be about the same as it was on the previous blood and meat gathering locations at 5.5 thousand per hour. It's just fluctuation. I probably was just slower myself. It's probably about the same 5.6, 5.7 thousand. So it doesn't seem to matter where you gather in terms of blood or meat. If you go for the sheep, the deers, the wolves, they all seem to have about the same drop rate. I spent 36 minutes here until I ran out of energy. I made 47 millions and an approximation of 79 per hour if I could stay 1 hour here. So that basically concludes all of my testing for today. At this point I could show you the entire Excel file and show you exactly what I meant by all of the areas not being placed in order. They are just replaced as I tested them one after the other. So in general, if you look at the income per hour, it was 93 millions from wolf meat, 85 from sheep, 89 from deer meat, and then 80, 78, 87, 65, 67, 79. So it turns out, at least in my case with this kind of meh test, that gathering for meat in particular for me seems to be the best way to make the money. Also because it seems to be the most convenient one. If I want to just simply burn my energy fast, I'm gonna go for the sheep meat right next to Hydeal where I'm staying, or maybe just go a little bit further to get the wolf meat. It's not that much further away. So in my case, I think I'm gonna stick to these 2 types of gathering until I figure out something better to do with my energy, and leave it at that. So thanks for watching. Hope you learned something today. Maybe I give you a reason to start life scaling yourself, because the money per hour seems to be actually pretty good. I know I said I have artisan 10 gathering, but from what I saw, these days it seems to be very easy to get to artisan level gathering. If you use the proper buffs and the proper gathering style, I believe for some types of wild grass or something, you can probably make it artisan gathering from 0 to artisan in 1 hour or 2 hours. So it shouldn't be that hard to achieve. I'm curious in the future, when I get maybe 1000, 1.2 mastery, how much money I'm going to be making extra on top of what I got today. So I'm gonna leave as the baseline the 5.7 thousand meat per hour that I got today, and compare this to what I will get in future testing next time. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time, probably not with another life skill video. Bye bye.